So welcome everybody, it's Ted Prodromou again, and welcome to Social Selling TV. Every Thursday at noon Pacific time, we do Social Selling TV where I interview experts in marketing and sales and business and mindset, really just to help you get more from your business, be a better marketer, be a better salesperson, use social selling, and just make more money with your business. That's the bottom line. That's why we're here. So today I want to introduce Ely Delaney, and Ely and I met through a mutual friend, Tim Harrington, years ago, and we've been online friends, and we've just kind of watched each other, on the internet and watched our businesses grow. So welcome, Ely.
Oh, thank you, Ted. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, it's really funny. I'm pretty sure that you and I were introduced from Tim Harrington years and years ago, who was a friend of mine. Matter of fact, he and I just spoke about 3 weeks ago, which was kind of cool because we hadn't talked to each other for quite a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're heading down to Sedona in a couple months, so we're going to get together with Tim. So
Very cool. Well, be sure to torment him for me because now that I'm not in the Phoenix area, I don't get to bug him as much as I used to.
So Ely, when I first met you years ago, you were doing web design and web development.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing now?
Now, world has changed a lot for me since then. We grew the web design business from the standpoint of originally I was starting out of my office was my dining room, and grew it to the point of opening up an office, having 5 employees, closing 3 to 5 contracts a week, just crushing it. And then I decided I really didn't like that at all. I got away from the fact I didn't enjoy designing anymore, and I really didn't like my employees much. And so I decided I was done with the whole thing. Moved, basically, I ended up eliminating the entire thing and moved into the marketing and consulting side of things, which is where we launched our current company, Your Marketing University. And from there, we've been doing that for 7, going on 8 years now. And I've got clients in all sorts of different countries. What our latest course is my networking course, which is kind of my little specialty, my little niche of the world. And we've got just under 1,200 students going through it, and it's been a fun ride. I have to say, I love it a lot more, and it's great because I don't have any clients that are actually close to me. I do most of my networking is more online, and most of my clients are in other countries, let alone just not even here in the States.
So I know you used to go to a lot of in-person networking events, as I did years ago,
Mm-hmm.
BNI and Chamber of Commerce and all the local events.
Oh, yeah.
So do you still do that?
I do some, not near as many, and a lot of it is more because I enjoy the networking side of it. Networking is what I enjoy. I'm a people person. I like to say, I like to collect people, just not in a Dexter way.
Ah, okay.
And from that, I actually do networking at some local events, but a lot of times they end up being bigger conferences and seminars and stuff. That I find is a great place, especially who my clientele is, because my clientele isn't necessarily brick and mortar businesses as much as it used to be. Now I'm working with a lot of coaches, consultants, authors, speakers, that kind of stuff. And that's where they go to big conferences. So I can spend 3 days at a conference and walk home with a ton of great connections and some new clients. It never fails. I get at least one good solid client out of every event that I attend, but those are the bigger events. And then the smaller ones, I do that a lot more for fun. And because I still enjoy that connection time.
Yeah, I was in BNI for about 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good. It was a lot of time commitment. Every
Right.
Friday morning, 7 a.m., we had to be there for breakfast.
Right.
And we were there for a couple hours.
Yeah. Well, and that's, with my web design business, that's how I grew that business. It was literally, I started off with, I had 2 clients, and those clients came to me because of places that my girlfriend worked. That's really how I got those clients. And it was great because those were the clients that they were beautiful in the fact that this was back in the day with web design. There was no WordPress, or it wasn't a dime a dozen when it came to design. I was the guy who knew how to do it, and everybody else desperately needed that. And so it was, I'd build an entire website, show it to somebody, and they'd be like, it's beautiful. It's exactly what I want. Can you change that word? And that would be it. There'd be no humming and hawing about the colors or moving things around or anything. And that was great. The problem was that those 2 clients weren't enough to pay the bills. And so I had to learn networking to get out there and connect. And from there, one of the first things I did, and to this day, I'm not positive, but I'm like 95% sure that my mom was actually the one who suggested that I look at a chamber of commerce. And that's how I got started. I went to one of the local chambers in the Phoenix area, which is where I was. And, I called around, talked to a couple of them, and ended up going into one of their offices and having a conversation with the sales rep there. And he was like, well, here's the deal. You could go broke trying to join every chamber of commerce you want. But if you just put the time and energy into one or two of them, you'll get what you put into it. And I took that to heart. And so I started going to every meeting I possibly could. And by the time I finally decided that my business was growing to a new level, I had actually built over 200 websites because of chamber members.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's important what you said there. Pick one and focus 100% on that one chamber of commerce or one networking event, because I was going to 3 or 4 a month, and I felt like I was getting some business and it was okay, but it was a lot of work going to 4 different events every month.
Right. Well, and that's one reason why seminars and conferences tend to be really cool, is because you can go to one a month and you're spending 3 intense days with a ton of networking with maybe 300, 500 even. I mean, I go to an event here in the Portland area where it has 3,000 people, and I literally will spend an entire week in downtown Portland going to little side parties and things for this particular event. And that's where I meet a ton of people. And the great thing about it is I'm not even paying to go. I don't actually walk in the door. I just figure out where the people are hanging out and hang out with them.
That's another great point. You go to those conferences, you can sit in there and listen to all the great content. But if you stay outside the door, you meet more people and network with more people and connect with them.
And that's the funny thing about it, is the networking side is actually where you get the most value. I mean, obviously, especially depending on what your business is, the content learning and listening to these experts that are up on stage is very powerful. But a lot of times the networking is what really happens. And I find that the after hours, so if you go to a conference, you spend maybe you spend all day, like 6 or 7 hours sitting in a seat all day, but the after party is usually where the real things happen. That's where the real magic happens. And I've gone to conferences where literally I hung out in the hallway until 3 o'clock in the morning, just talking to people. Yeah. And, and one of the things that I'll say is that if you're going to any event, one of the best places to go is stand by the front door. Right on the inside or right on the outside, kind of depends on the event, but literally stand right there, smile, and introduce yourself to people as they walk in the door. It's one of the easiest things you can do, and you will meet so many amazing people just from that one little thing. And it doesn't matter if it's a big conference with 1,000 people or a networking group that's got 20.
That's an interesting approach, because that sounds like they would think you actually are part of the conference if you're standing right by the door greeting people.
Oh yeah, they do. And you don't lie to them. You don't say you are, but what you do is you introduce yourself to them. You ask them who they are, ask them what what do they expect to get out of the event, or what are they looking for? What kind of clients are they looking for? Something to bring the conversation into their space. Let them talk about themselves. And the great thing about it is you're getting great feedback. You're getting to find out who they are, and you find out they might be a good business for you. At that point, you can also find out they may not be a good client for you, but that you could connect them with somebody else, or maybe they could, help you in a different aspect. Maybe they know somebody else, but more importantly, if you can connect them with the right person, they'll remember you forever. And down the road, they might become that great client, or they are much more likely to talk about you and refer you to somebody else when they're asking.
That's a great point you made there. Just when you introduce yourself, put the emphasis on them and learn more about them and be very interested in them and be genuine about it. Because some people come up, they're like, you can tell they're like not really interested in you, but they're trying to pretend to be interested in you.
Yeah, I found it's really funny because you can find the people, they'll ask questions, but it almost sounds like they're reading a script. And
some people do have scripts, actually.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having scripts. So everything we do is scripted to some extent. It's the idea is to make it sound as natural as possible. But it's funny because I've had people that literally they ask questions and you can tell there's like, okay, question number 1 is this, question number 2 is this, and you can almost see them thinking through their head of what that question is, but then they're not paying attention to your answer. And if you want to succeed, if you want to get better clients and have better relationships in the business community, whatever that looks like for you, be more interested in people and actually pay attention, because those people, they're looking for people who can be resourceful and help them out. And that doesn't necessarily always mean buying their stuff too. And that's one of the things that I love, is that if I find somebody who can be a great fit for me as a client, I would love to have that person on board. But there are times where it's just not going to be a good fit. And if I can turn around and say, you know what, I know somebody you should talk to, what ends up happening is I'll make that introduction, and both of those people end up being so appreciative of it. They both get better service because the fact that that person I introduced them to gets a new client, which makes them happy. The person I introduced to them now has a resource to solve whatever problem they have. And the great thing about it is at the same time, both of them now have a, almost a reciprocity thing going back to me. They're going to remember me, and they're going to be more likely to refer business back to me just because I was a nice guy helping them out.
That goes so far.
Yeah.
It's just helping people out.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, and I encourage everybody watching this to have one simple little question, and this is a question I wake up to every day: is who am I going to help today? And
who am I going to help today? That's great.
Yeah. And it's such a simple question, and by doing that, it doesn't. If you can help somebody with your products and services, great, that's awesome. But that doesn't always look like that. A lot of times, it could be that introduction to somebody else. I have a client who came in the door that she came to me as a one-off client, just basically wanting a basic strategy session, and she's become a monthly client. But what has ended up happening is I connected her with one person who can be, or actually 2 people that can be resellers for her. One person who can be a supplier for her, another one who could actually be almost like a contracted employee for her. And all of that side of the stuff has nothing to do with what she pays me. Mm-hmm. And what I actually, the amount that I get compared to what the amount of business she'll get out of it is very, very small. I'm happy for that, because she is a client of mine, which makes me happy. But on top of that, I get to see her succeed. I get to see all these other people succeed. And I'm building this almost like a syndicate of people who are all working together to grow their businesses. And all it is me is like, okay, you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to this person. And if I can be somewhere entwined in there, awesome. That's, that would be the ultimate goal from the business standpoint. But I know it's going to work out in the end one way or another.
There's this real synergy there, and everybody starts working together. They're feeding off each other, and you may get business from it. You may not, but I feel that by doing good things like that for people, business will come to you eventually.
Oh, definitely.
It's interesting. So somebody said this to me recently: people never go to a networking event to buy. They're always going there to sell. Mm-hmm. That just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like BNI, that's the networking. Right. You're not going there to learn. You're going there to get new business.
Right. Well, and here's the thing: we are in business to grow our business and to make sales. We're one thing about me is I am a capitalist. I will not hide that fact in any way, shape, or form. I want to sell you something, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to, and I'm definitely not going to sell you something if it's not a good fit for you, because that is bad. That's poor business. And so what we as networkers and connectors have to do is go into that with that mindset of don't be shy about selling something, but also be fully aware of when is the right time and when is not the right time to actually try to sell something. And the most important thing is sales mostly don't happen during a networking event. It can happen. It's very rare for me, literally twice in my life have I actually sold something on the spot at a networking event. And to this day, 22 years later, I still haven't figured out how the heck I did it. Because it just doesn't happen there. What you do is you build the relationship you started, and then that phone call that happens the next day, that coffee meeting or the phone call or the showing up at their office or whatever, that's what leads to the next step. And so if you're dealing in brick and mortar and more of a local community, when you're there, your job is to be as helpful as possible, show them that you are a good person and that you are interested in their success, and then get their business card and email them or call them to have an appointment the next day. The next day could be for lunch, it could be for coffee, it could be show up at their office and just get a tour of what they do, get to know more about them. And that opens up the conversation to how can I actually help you? If you're in the, if you're going with more of a global audience, this is what I do now, is I actually have, I'll meet somebody in an event and then we schedule either a Skype call or a Google Hangout like what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about it is I call it a virtual coffee date. I actually will go to the coffee shop, get my coffee like I have here, because I had one of these earlier before our call today. I will go get my cup of coffee and I bring it back and I have it and we sit down and we just have as close to face as we can, which is where like Google Hangouts and Skype is such an amazing tool, because now you get that point where you can see somebody's face, you can see the reactions when you tell a bad joke,
Yeah.
And you just get to know them. And it's no different than if you were to sit down over a cup of coffee at the local coffee shop, but you can do this with somebody across the world.
That's what I teach people with LinkedIn and all social media. Mm-hmm. Treat people like we're face to face, like we are having a conversation right now.
Right. No, definitely.
So many people think when you're online, you can hide behind this thing. They don't know who I am. And I can spam them, or I can be really aggressive selling. It's like, treat people like we're face to face.
Right. Well, and that's the funny thing about it, is that in today's world, we've become so global in that world of, especially with social media, and people say things that they probably shouldn't necessarily say. And they forget that you're still a person, and the person on the other end is still a person. And as the old sales adage goes, people don't buy from companies, they buy from people. And we always have to remember that. We always have to keep in mind the relationship and the connection with the person is what makes the difference. You want to be successful, connect with more people and help them out.
Yeah, focus on helping. That's BNI, that's their whole motto, givers gain. And if you're not familiar with Business Networking International, go to bni.com and get Dr. Ivan Meisner's book, because it's a great book about help others and it'll all come back to you.
Right. There's another great book, and Dr. Meisner's got some amazing stuff. I've never actually been a member of BNI, but I've attended multiple groups in different areas, and I know him from a distance, and it's amazing some of the stuff that he's done. There's another really good book too. It's called The Referral of a Lifetime. Tim Templeton, I believe, is the name of the author, but it's Referral of a Lifetime. It's a very easy read. I highly recommend you pick it up, and it really changes the paradigm of your thought process behind your connections, the people you talk to, the people you meet. Because I have, I just told you a second ago that I've never sold at an event, but I have actually sold stuff in the drive-thru of Starbucks before.
Okay, tell me this one.
I actually got in a conversation with the cashier at a Starbucks because I was going there every day, and I'd drive through, grab a cup of coffee either before or after a meeting or whatever, and they saw me go into the shop a few times. And I'm at the drive-thru, and one of the guys there, he's like, "So what is it you do anyway?" And I start talking to him, and next thing I know, he's like, "Oh, you know what? I've got this thing that I was going to start up, and I just don't know where to start. I've got this business idea." And I was like, "Well, here's my card. Look on the back. The back of it has a free guide. Your typical free report, but it's a free guide. It's my marketing roadmap report." And I'm like, "Go here, fill that out. Go there, download that, go through it, because that's going to help you kind of validate the idea of your business and where you start from. Once you've done that, let me know what you think." Next thing I know, I get an email from him, and he's buying my stuff.
Nice.
And he was all excited because it was something he could do. He learned from me purely because of a 2-minute conversation in the drive-thru.
Yeah, you just never know. It's every day you see each other, you go to the same coffee shop, and they get to know you.
Right.
And everybody that's working at a coffee shop usually has some other bigger dream.
Hmm. Well, and that was, in another story, the coffee shop scenario. I had one coffee shop. I was in Boise, visiting some family because that's originally where I'm from, and I had a meeting with somebody. I had a meeting with a basically an aunt of mine who has moved on and with somebody else now. But anyway, met with her and her current boyfriend, and they're doing some business stuff. And I was like, you know what? I've got this program that might help you guys out. This is what it is, and this is how much it is. And they're like, okay. And they were ready to give me money. I was more thinking that would be, think about it, let me know what you think. And they gave me cash right there.
Wow.
And then in this, again, new coffee shop, never been there before. This happened. And literally 5 minutes after they left, I'm overhearing a conversation with two guys at the table next to me, and they're web designers. Well, I come from a web background, so I start up a conversation with them. We start chatting. They ask me what I do. I start talking about it, find out more about what they do. And I was like, you know what? You guys would probably be good affiliates for me. And so we talked about how that works and everything. They didn't really even know what affiliate marketing was at the time. And so I start explaining it to them. They signed up as affiliate. And one of the guys was the owner of the company. He was like, you know what? I think we need that for us. And he turned around and put in his credit card on the sales form on the website that I just was showing him as an example.
Nice.
And yeah. So, and it was funny because Cindy, my partner, was just all of a sudden I get a Skype message from her. It's like, what are you doing? Because literally within, not even a half an hour of each other at a random coffee shop in Boise, Idaho, I made 2 sales.
So for those who aren't familiar, what's an affiliate program? Can you explain that?
Yeah, an affiliate program is basically a referral program where you actively pay somebody who sends you business. So let's say, as an example, I have an affiliate program, and you think, hey, you know what, my audience would think that this might be good for my audience. You can sign up as an affiliate. It takes you 1 minute to do so, and you should get links. You give somebody else that link. If they buy, you get a commission off of that. It's really that simple. And I highly recommend that everybody listening do that, because if you can set up some form of affiliate system, and of course we use Infusionsoft for ours, so it does a lot of the back end stuff for us. But you don't have to even be that fancy with it. You can have something set up to where you just have a referral situation, mortgage brokers, real estate. Obviously there's some legal stuff involved with there, but find a way to refer, give somebody a commission for referring somebody over to you, because 9 times out of 10, that person, that new customer, would never have even shown up if somebody hadn't recommended you to them or them to you. And I found people that it's so much fun, because I can go through and say, hey, you know what? This is how I can help you out. And I'll send out a referral, and actually I get paid on it because I gave that person extra business. And so it's an extra form of income. It's an extra product that I can recommend. And I never recommend anything I don't either use myself, or I don't know that person inside and out enough that I know they're going to provide a great service. But starting up an affiliate program can be very easy, and again, you can call it affiliate program, you can call it referral program, but basically just give a way to say, okay, I want to reward you for recommending me to your friends. It's really is that simple.
And then you have an army of salespeople out there that can refer you business.
Yeah. I've got one person who's one of our Infusionsoft clients that he doesn't. Initially, he paid us a pretty good chunk of change to get him set up for the stuff that we're doing for him. And ever since then, he hasn't given us anything, because he's referred so much business to us that he calls us up and says, I need help on this. And we just take care of it for him. Because we have the agreement, instead of actually paying him cash, we basically do some work for him instead, because Infusionsoft consulting and coaching is a piece of what we do. And it works out great for him, because he gets us pretty much on demand in exchange for referring people to us. And he's referred some amazing clients to us that we've loved working with.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about offline networking, going to events and conferences. And so what are the 3 biggest mistakes you see with people doing when they network in person?
In person, most important thing is not having a business card. I'm gonna put this one right out up front, because there are some people out there that will disagree with me on this one. That's fine, but I'll tell you personal experiences on this. If you walk into a room and you don't have business cards, I wonder if you're actually serious about your business. And I live in the digital age. I'm a geek through and through, but I still find business cards are the most powerful tool you can have. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that if I'm talking to you and I'm like, you know what, I want to find out more about you. Can I have one of your cards? And you say, I don't carry business cards, or I don't have any with me. Chances are 30 seconds later, I'm going to forget your name because we're busy and we live in an ADD world.
Yes.
And I've actually had times, it's funny because I had times where there was one person in particular I met that I wanted to look at doing a partnership with because he had what I thought would be a great service. And I was like, do you have a business card? I would love to set up a time to have coffee with you and see, find out more about what you do. And I was 100% serious about wanting to find out more about him. I had no interest in selling him anything. And he was like, oh, I don't do business cards. You can just look me up online. I'm easy to find. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try to remember that. And then I went, and it was at an event we were both speaking at. And by the end of the event, we were both so busy, I completely forgot his name.
Right. Exactly.
I couldn't follow up with him because I couldn't remember him. And his last name was not easy to remember. His first name was, I think it was Sam. That's the part I remember, but I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, I've run into those people too. They kind of have an attitude sometimes. I don't carry business cards. I'm too good for that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I've even turned around and said, I've given people the benefit of the doubt, and I said, okay, here's my card. I want you to email me so we can send me your information as quickly as possible because I want to find out more. And I've done that in a situation where I was ready to buy their service, and I never hear from them.
Right.
That leads to number 2, which is follow up. The follow up is the key. We've heard the phrase, the fortune is in the follow up. If you've been in sales for any amount of time, you've probably heard that phrase. But what people forget is that it's really true, that you have to follow up, and you have to follow up quickly with somebody. One of the most important things is that we are, again, in that ADD world, we get busy. And so we meet a lot of people. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to meet 50 people in a week.
Yeah.
And this is first time, just at events and different things. So for somebody to send me a message or send me an email, or, even on social media, send me a Facebook message or a LinkedIn message or whatever, and send me a message that says, hey, I met you at the XYZ event last night. I really had a great time. Here's my contact info. That alone solidifies that relationship. It goes into my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember him from last night and we talked about this. Now there's a catch point that goes into my subconscious. Without that, you give it 48 to 72 hours, poof, it's gone. Because I got so many other
people and so much content, you'd like overwhelmed when you get home. Whenever I speak at events, I ask people, who has collected a business card here today? And everybody raised their hand. I said, how many people are going to call somebody when you get home or email those people? And about 10% of the people might raise their hands.
Right. And that's the funny thing about it. I know that out of 100 people, I will be excited if I get 2 to actually send me a message. And I'm not even saying pick up the phone. And I'm saying, you should pick up the phone. That's the best way. But I'm saying just shoot an email. And here's for everybody listening, I have a great script. You can steal the script, run with it. Send an email. You got to send it within 48 hours or else it's not near as effective. But you send an email and here's what it says. It says, Dear Bob, it was great meeting you at XYZ event last night. I hope you met some really great people. I know I did, in parentheses, like you. That way you kind of feed their ego a little bit. By the way, what other cool events do you go to? Here's a couple that I recommend. And you list 1 or 2 that you go to that you think are good events. By the way, I'd love to have coffee sometime next week. How does Thursday look for you? Signed, Eli. Okay. And there's a couple psychological pieces with this. Number 1 is you comment on them, you compliment them on the fact that you met them and you met a cool person. Yeah. You ask a question. What other events do you go to or do you recommend, which elicits a response. And that's a very key point. It's just a micro commitment of, hey, by the way, yeah, do you know of any other events that I should be attending? The answer may be no, but that no is a response, as an engagement. Yeah. Okay. Then you're adding value by offering a couple that you would recommend. And then you mention setting an appointment.
And you give them a date.
And you give them a date. And here's the thing: it doesn't really matter what day of the week it is. You pick a day that's going to work pretty well. But worst case scenario, if you're not available on Thursday, they reply back and you say, hey, I'm really sorry, but from the time I sent this to the time you replied back, I ended up getting booked on Thursday. How's Friday look? I mean, but it starts the conversation.
Or they'll come back and suggest a time and date.
Exactly. That script right there has gotten me so many appointments with people. And some of those appointments could be face-to-face. Sometimes they're coffee. Sometimes we meet for lunch. Sometimes I go to their office. Sometimes it's a phone call. But I mean, we're easily in the hundreds, if not multiple hundreds easily from that one email right there. And you can literally write that email up, stick it in a Word document, save it on your desktop, open, copy, and paste every single time. You don't have to change it, and it's that simple. But by doing that one thing, you are going to stand out above 95% of the other people out there just because you did.
99%.
99, 99%. We'll go with the 99. I was even being conservative and giving an extra 4%. But
I do the same on LinkedIn, actually. Whenever I meet somebody at conferences, I connect with them on LinkedIn immediately, usually that evening when I get back to my room. Yeah. And then I'll send them a message similar to that.
Right. Well, and then the cool thing about that is that after that message goes out, then you go into the social media sites. So you go to LinkedIn and immediately find them, look them up, and then connect with them and say, hey, I just sent you an email, but I wanted to connect in the social world too.
Yeah.
And then that way, what ends up happening is they get the email, they get the social media connection. They're more likely to remember you because when they remember you, then they're more likely to accept you. Because if you do this 2 weeks later, they probably forgot who you are, and they're less likely to actually accept your connection request on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so within 48 hours is very, very key with this.
Yeah, it's all about timing. Yeah. Okay, so the first mistake is you didn't bring a business card to the event. The second mistake is you didn't follow up. What's the third big mistake?
The third big mistake is adding somebody to your generic newsletter.
Ooh.
Yes. This is a huge pet peeve of mine. And sadly enough, it happens a lot. Commercial real estate people, if you're listening to this, please pay attention to this because you guys are the worst. It amazes me. I go to events. I'll meet some really cool people, shake hands, have great conversations. We do the business card exchange. The next day, all of a sudden, I get an email about, hey, here's the greatest listings on the property in your area, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not in the market for real estate. I'm not in the market for real estate, like commercial real estate. I never said I was. I didn't show an interest. I didn't ask for it in any way, shape, or form. You just spammed me.
Yes.
And so you got to stop that, and it doesn't matter how great your products and services are. Don't assume that I want them until I've said so. Right. And so that is such a huge relationship killer that I've had people who've done that and I immediately report them as spam and I will never recommend them, period. No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Yeah.
And so that's why that email that I just talked about is so important, because that email it's a nice introduction. It's a relationship starter. The great thing is that at that point, that opens up a conversation to where you can then say, by the way, if you're interested in checking out, commercial real estate, here's my newsletter or here's my free guide, which I do recommend. Don't say here's my newsletter, because in today's world that pretty much reads, here's give me permission to spam you. And so nobody wants a newsletter. We already get 10,000 emails a day. So give them something of value. That's why, like with me, I have my business card has that free guide on the back. And since we're on camera, I can actually pull out a business card and I'll show you. This is a great way, because then if I find somebody who is qualified, and qualified means that they actually show an interest. So I'll put this right here, kind of right on the camera. You can kind of quickly look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the back of my business card. So what I'll do is when I talk to somebody, I start off with the conversation of, asking a lot of questions, getting to know them. And then if they strike an interest, then I'll be, you know what, this has got all my contact information. Definitely, feel free to email me or whatever. I'd love to have coffee with you. But if you want to find out more and how I work and get some cool training, this is a report that I give away for free. It also goes to a training course that I have that's completely free. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And that's your starting point, because then it's a soft pitch. It's not trying to push them into a sale. And your conversation, when you send that first email or that first LinkedIn connection, you start with the start a conversation. When they respond back, say, hey, by the way, I have this thing for free that I give away. Would you be interested in checking it out and let me know what you think? That's it. That's the entire pitch. And the great thing about it is if they're interested, they'll do it. If they're not interested, you didn't waste anybody's time and you didn't tick anybody off in the process.
Right. I give people free chapters of my books on the back of my business card. It's valuable real estate that people don't take advantage of.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. This one piece has been my number one sales tool out there, because it doesn't matter what kind of event I'm going to. It doesn't matter if I happen to be in a coffee shop. No matter what it is, it gives me something I can put out. It's very inexpensive. And I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of opt-ins from that one little thing.
Yeah. And that's better than just spamming them.
Yeah, because what it does is it basically gives them a reason to raise their hand saying, yes, I am interested. Yes, I do want more. Just last month, I went to the Sportsman show here in Portland, and I am not a sports kind of guy. I'm not a hunter. I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. But in the last year, I've gotten into archery as a personal hobby of mine. And it's target archery. For me, it's like a form of meditation. But I wanted to go, and I've gotten into it enough that I wanted to check it out and see what archery shops were going to show up at this event. From this one thing that I went to, and I'm going down the aisles bored out of my mind for most of it. And then I get to this one, and this one has Hungarian horse bows, which, if you've ever seen them, they're actually beautiful. They're a good work of art on top of the fact that they're fun to play with. And I end up talking to the woman who runs it, and we start off in a basic conversation. And I don't remember what started it, but something came up about her Facebook page is how I actually had first known about her. And she was really excited about that. And we got talking about something, and I just gave her a quick suggestion of something she could do on her Facebook that would make it more effective. And she's like, really? That's really cool. What is it you do? And, she asked me, and I bring up, I'm a marketing consultant essentially. And this is what I do. I help people with their sales funnels and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, you know what? I really need that. And I'm like, cool. I sat there and talked to her in her booth for like 45 minutes. And at the end of the day, I walked out with a whole set of gear and a new client.
Nice.
Yeah. But it was just networking. It was just connecting. And the great thing is I had a call with her earlier today, and I'm helping her with some other stuff. I'm helping her with these connections with other places that she can help grow her business, and they can be resellers for her and all that kind of stuff. And it's a blast. It's so much fun, because I don't look at it as what do I get out of it? I look at it as how am I helping these people all get connected and grow their businesses, because I know it's going to come back.
Yeah. You mentioned something there. It's something I teach too. Just start conversations with people. That's all you want to try to do.
Yeah. It's really funny because we tend to be afraid of that. And depending on where you are in the world, it can be a little bit harder. I know, like, coming from Phoenix, if you go to talk to a stranger in Phoenix, chances are you can pretty much see the ticker tape across their head that says, A, are you going to mug me? And B, what are you going to sell me? And that's pretty common. So I get that. Coming from Portland, it's totally different when I moved up here, because I moved up here and everybody's friendly, everybody talks. But I am one, I'll talk to complete strangers anywhere. If I can find a reason to have that conversation, it's so much fun. And I've gotten so much business. I mean, I've just told you about 2 different conversations during our call today that led to cash in hand by talking to some stranger. Wasn't even neither one of those was at a place that I would expect it, that I was looking for it in any way, shape, or form. But by starting a conversation, it led to being in the right place, right time, right conversation, and that person trusting me because I wasn't there to pitch them. I wasn't there planning to sell them anything. I was there having a good conversation, and it led in the right direction. And that's something I think all of us in business need to remember. If you show that you care, show that you're an expert in what you do, and show that you can add value, the sales process is actually easy because you don't have to sell anything.
Right.
You just make sure that they're aware of what it is and how much it costs, but you show those other three things make it so they want to do business with you.
Because they know, like, and trust you.
Exactly.
Just by the conversations.
Exactly. And the KLT factor is what I call that. It's KLT factor. And if you think about it, that is so key to remember that. Never, I mean, just write it down. Know, like, and trust. Look at those three words. Those are in that order for a very specific reason, because you can't trust somebody if you don't like them, unless maybe that person's a doctor or a lawyer. They can get away with it, but the rest of us can't.
Right.
You know, but for somebody to like you, they have to get to know you. So that's why those three words are in that order, because it's know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm. So let's shift gears here. We've talked a lot about offline networking and meeting in person.
Yeah.
So let's go networking online. You say you do most of your network online now.
Yeah. Most of it now has been on the online world. And what I'll do with that is some of it is still like I'll meet somebody at a conference or seminar where I'm, you know, they're in town or I'm in town for something on a short standpoint, but immediately I want to connect with them in the social media world. You know, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, those 4 places. And you don't even have to use all of them. You use the ones that are going to be the best fit for where your referral partners are and where your customers are. Those 2 keys are very important, because some people will join different social media sites because it's the big popular one. That matter of fact, I just had somebody before we jumped on this call that I was sending an email to, and he was talking about being overwhelmed by all the social media stuff out there. And there's stuff like Blab and Periscope and all these different things. I'm like, you don't have to be on everything. Yeah. You need to be where your customer is and where your referral partners are. Those 2 places, because your referral partners are the ones you're going to connect with in order to get in front of more customers. But your customers, if they're on Facebook, then you need to spend more time on Facebook. If they're on LinkedIn, spend more time on LinkedIn. If they're not on Twitter, don't spend a lot of time there. You know, It's just, it's really simple. You don't have to spend that much time on these places. And what I'll do, and I like both Facebook and LinkedIn because of the groups more than anything else. Those two have amazing capabilities with groups where you can join a group, have a great conversation with somebody, get in there, be part of a conversation where somebody asks a question, help answer it. Again, that whole thing, when you wake up in the morning, who are you going to help today? Yeah. So you go in there, you say, hey, you know what? I know the answer to this. You pop in there, answer the question. Every time you do that, that adds a little bit of social clout. Every time you do that, it adds the credibility, shows that you're an expert, and you're helping somebody and showing somebody who likes to add value. Yeah. And I've had, like, you know, you and I talked about this before we started everything. We've talked about the fact that we're doing Infusionsoft consulting as one piece of our business. I got one client, and this is multiple times has happened, but this one specifically, he went into one group and posted in, I'm looking at moving to Infusionsoft. And I don't know, I just need to know, you know, what are the pluses? What are the minuses? What do you think? And a whole bunch of people bombarded him with, hey, by the way, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And this is why, you know, this is how, call me up and I can give you a special deal, that kind of stuff. And they were consultants that were part of their referral program type of situation. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what he got bombarded by, about how awesome it was. And come to me and I'll get you a deal. Okay. After looking at 20 of those, I was like, okay, first off, that's not really answering his question. Right. And so I went in there and I spent about 10 minutes writing something up. And I said, okay, I've been using it since 2007. We love it. It runs our entire business. This is what we love about it. Here's what we don't love about it. Here's the things you need to remember before you get started with it. If you've got more questions, just shoot me a message. Yeah. I didn't hear anything back for a few days. And probably about 4 days later, I get a message from him. Hey, thank you so much for your detailed response. I mean, it was pretty good sized. I'm wondering if maybe we could spend a couple of minutes and talk. Okay. So I get on the phone with him. That person has now become a client of mine. He's been with us for 6-8 months now, has paid us quite a large sum of money, and has been a great person for us to work with. And it's just purely because of the fact that I didn't go in pitching him. I gave him good, solid information that he could use, whether he bought from me or not.
Was this on LinkedIn or Facebook?
That one was on Facebook, but I have had both. I've had them on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Yeah, LinkedIn, everybody used to do what you did. And in the last couple of years, LinkedIn groups, for me, people just bombard people with self-promotions. And that's why they made all these group changes recently.
Right. Well, and that's because we're marketers, and as marketers, we have to destroy everything,
right.
which is a
Find
sad
something
thing.
that works and kill it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, how can we abuse this one now? And unfortunately, it happens. The goal is to don't do that, because, like, I have on LinkedIn, I have probably 10 messages from people that are just pitching me on their, I'd love to get on the phone with you and offer you a free strategy session. Well, I don't even know who you are or what you sell yet. Yeah. Let's start the conversation of, hey, I would love to have a chat with you and get to know more about your business. Imagine that. How do you know if I'm going to be a good customer if you don't know anything about me?
Right.
I mean, and that's just basic relationship building. That's all it is. And that's the fun thing about this is not rocket science. This is not hard stuff. Just build a relationship with somebody. And those that, obviously you don't hide what you do. Like I said, I said up front, I am a capitalist. I love making money and being successful in my business. But I come into it with this is what I do. How can I help you?
Right.
And it's funny because I'll ask that question and people are like, well, I don't think I need your services right now. And I'm like, that's not what I asked. I said, how can I help you? Yeah. If that happens to be buying one of my programs or becoming a consulting client, awesome. That's great. If it means that you need somebody to help build out your new retail location, I might have a connection for you. So just ask.
No, that's one of my pet peeves is the welcome message from LinkedIn where they're very aggressively selling you. It's like, can you refer me or give me an endorsement or recommend me? I'm like, well, I don't know you.
That's a big one too. From a standpoint is don't ask for a recommendation or a testimonial from somebody that doesn't know you. That's just silly. I mean, I don't understand how people think that that's even valid. I would not. I'll have people that will actually do the little endorsement button, and it's really funny because I'm like, okay, I don't even know this person. How do they know that I do this? And I get endorsements for things that I don't do, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, they'll add other things in there that I don't do that.
Right, like SEO. People say I'm an SEO expert. I'm like, no, I'm not. But I'm like, whatever. But the recommendation I will do, like if I have a strategy session with a client, or if I've worked with somebody, I'm like, hey, can you help me out with this? Go here and write a recommendation for me. But it will be for somebody who knows me, somebody who's actually, even if they may not have necessarily bought my services, but maybe they came to a free workshop or they saw me speak at an event or something, that they can speak on something valid. And that's a good way to do it. And here's the thing, if you want to get more exposure, go to somebody else's profile you did business with and write a recommendation for them without them asking for it.
Yes, I do that a lot.
That's huge because just by doing that, like I've had times where I've had somebody on my podcast and I'll go write a recommendation on how great of a guest they were. Mm-hmm. And they didn't ask for it, but by doing that adds that credibility and it adds that karma into it. And they're shocked and amazed by the fact that I did it.
And they'll be prompted to write you one in return.
Exactly.
Yep. No, it works like magic. Mm-hmm. Works really well.
And it's funny because everything we've talked about is not hard. It's not complicated stuff at all. We're talking about just being a good human being, helping people out. That's it.
It's sales 101 in a way, because any course you take on sales, it's what's in it for me. Put yourself in their shoes. Mm-hmm. Don't try to sell them. Learn more about them and help them.
Right. Yeah. Any good sales program is based around that concept, because when you do that, you are showing them that you care and becoming a trusted source. I've had people tell me that they would never consider doing business with anybody else just because of the fact that they've seen me as the person who's always been there to help them out. And I had one woman that I knew for 10 years. All of a sudden she comes out of the blue and says, okay, I need some help. Can you stop by the shop, this afternoon? I was like, Yeah, sure. Stop by. And this was back in with my web design company. And I stopped in and we had a conversation about building a website for her and what she needed and how much it was going to cost and all that kind of fun stuff. And I get to the end and I was like, so who else are you talking to about this? She's like, well, nobody. And I knew her well enough to know she's the kind of person, she gets at least 3 bids. And I was like, really? Why aren't you talking to anybody else? She goes, because I've known you forever. You've always been there. You've always helped me out anytime I've had a question. And I know that you'll be the one to do the best job for me.
That's awesome.
That's a good place to be. And I've never hard pitched her on anything.
Right. No, well, you're that kind of guy. You're just very helpful. You're always there for people. And
that's a fun place to be. When you do that, it takes the sales process out of the stress level, because when you're doing that, all you're doing is you're just being a resource for somebody, helping them out and saying, hey, you know, what can I do to help you out? Can I connect you with somebody? And at that point, they trust you, and they're not going to want to deal with anybody else because they know you, they like you, they trust you. That other person is scary, whoever that other person is.
And people don't realize, people look at what you do online. Like 77% of people look at your LinkedIn profile before they do business. And if they're savvy business owners today, they're going to look at what you do on Facebook and Twitter. They'll follow you on Twitter and see what kind of posts you do. Are you a self-promoter, or are you helping people?
Yeah, and that's a big one too. I've seen some people who've connected with me, and I'll look at them, and all it is just, you know, hey, by the way, this is on sale. Hey, by the way, this is on sale. As a matter of fact, I know somebody just 2 days ago that posted on our LinkedIn group about pitching that I could advertise on his calendar. And I was like, dude, no. And the worst thing about it was there was he could have sent it as a private message, would have been fine, but he posted it publicly. He posted on 2 different groups, and I turned around and I look at what he did on a couple of Facebook groups we're in together, and he did it with the exact same message. All he's doing is basically copying and pasting and spamming his message out. And it's a marketer, and it's a person that I know. I like the guy, but I've lost like all kinds of respect for that situation. And, you know, to also go into your concept of people watch what you say in the social media world about your positivity or your negativity, your political views, that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff, there's nothing wrong with having your political views, but if you can take it too far to where people will not do business with you because of your attitude behind things. Another great examples are somebody that I know here locally who is, they tend to post a lot of stuff that is very extreme in the political world. And it's not even that I disagree with the stuff that they post. A lot of it I actually, in its base sense, I agree with. But they do it with such hatred behind the way they post and the comments that they add to this stuff that I could never recommend them. It's just like, I wouldn't have anything to do with them. And I'm like, you may be good at what you do, but I'm not going to send my clients to you because you scare me. And so it's not saying you have to soften things out. You have to just be careful be aware of what you're doing, because that negativity could be hurting your business, because in the social world, everybody sees it. Yeah.
Don't engage in politics and religion on social media.
Exactly.
No. Find some private forums where you can vent, because that stays there forever.
Oh yeah, and you know, I always tell people, it's like, if I said half of what goes through my head, people would hate me. That's why I don't say it.
We all have that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We all have that. You know, so
this has been really great, Eli. How can people get a hold of you? What can you do for people?
A couple of things that I can do for people. Number one is connect with me, because if you just connect with me, social media world, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, look for Eli Delaney, do a search, you'll find me. Very, very easy. I have fun just connecting to cool people. I also have my follow-up blueprint. This is my networking follow-up blueprint. Whether you're networking online or offline, I would love to have everybody listening to this grab a free copy of it. Give me 1 second. It's yourmarketinguniversity.com/TED. Okay. yourmarketinguniversity.com/TED. You go there, you're going to opt in just like you do on anything else, but that is my blueprint. This is the checklist that I go by to follow up after an event. It's geared more for offliners. So if you're meeting people in face-to-face and then connecting with them, it's both face-to-face down the road and in the social world. But no matter where you are, what kind of business that you're in, it doesn't matter if you're a coffee shop owner or a speaker. It's these basic guidelines that I go through have been very powerful. These are the things that I've used for years. They work really well. And I decided to put it into a checklist for you. So go grab that. Yeah, it's helped me out. It's helped a lot of my clients out, and I like to share it any way I can.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you, Ted. It's my pleasure. It's always fun. You and I need to hang out more often, definitely.
Yeah. Instead of just kind of occasional chats on Facebook.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. This will be posted on socialsellingtelevision.com too. That's my Apple TV channel. This will become part of my podcast. So we're going to get some traction with this.
Very cool. I appreciate it.
Great.
And if there's anything I can ever do to help you out, reach out and let me know anytime.
Great. And that goes for everybody listening too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.